Greetings, aloha, shalom, bienvenue, willkommen. This is part 5 of the Congressional report. We're going to begin part 5 with the Obama's administration and their policies and actions. I think people of both goodwill in the United States and Iran would like to see a cease of hostilities and more normal relations, and those policies generally seem to be what the Obama administration was trying to hold out somewhat of a friendly hand to try to mitigate the hostilities and between the two countries. So let's begin. Obama administration, pressure, engagement, and the JCPOA. President Obama asserted that there was an opportunity to persuade Iran to limit its nuclear program through diplomacy and to potentially rebuild a United States-Iran relationship after decades of mutual animosity. The approach emerged in President Obama's first message to the Iranian people on the occasion of Nowruz, that is the Persian New Year, on March 21, 2009, in which he stated that the United States is now committed to diplomacy that addresses the full range of issues before us and to pursuing constructive ties among the United States, Iran, and the international community. He referred to Iran as the Islamic Republic of Iran, signaling opposition to a policy of regime change. The administration reportedly also loosened restrictions on U.S. diplomats meeting with their Iranian counterparts at international meetings. In addition, President Obama exchanged several letters with Supreme Leader Khamenei, reportedly expressing the administration's support for engagement with Iran. In a major speech to the Muslim world in Cairo on June 4, 2009, President Obama acknowledged that the United States had played a role in the overthrow of Mossadegh and said that Iran had a right to peaceful nuclear power. 2009-2013 emphasis on economic pressure. In 2009, Iran's crackdown on the Green Movement uprising and its refusal to accept compromises to limit its nuclear program caused the Obama administration to shift to a two-track strategy. Stronger economic pressure coupled with offers of negotiations that would produce sanctions relief. The sanctions imposed during the 2010-2013 received broad international cooperation and caused economic difficulty in Iran. The administration also altered U.S. trade regulations to help Iranians circumvent their government's restrictions on internet usage and funded exchanges with civil society activists in Iran. In 2013, before the election of Rouhani, the administration began direct but unpublicized talks with Iranian officials in the Sultanate of Oman to probe Iran's willingness to reach a comprehensive nuclear accord. The administration also reportedly stated that a military option is on the table. 2013-2017, Rouhani elected, JCPOA implemented. The election of Rouhani in June 2013 contributed to a United States to emphasizing diplomacy, even though the United States-Iran nuclear negotiations had begun in the Sultanate of Oman in early 2013 prior to Rouhani's election. On September 20th, 2013, on the eve of the United Nations General Assembly meetings, the Washington Post published an op-ed by Rouhani stating a commitment to engage in constructive interaction with the world. President Obama, in his September 24, 2013 United Nations speech, confirmed that he had exchanged letters with Rouhani, stating the United States' willingness to resolve the nuclear issue peacefully, and that the United States is not seeking regime change. The two presidents spoke by phone on September 27, 2013, the first direct United States-Iranian presidential-level contact since Iran's revolution. President Obama expressed hope that the JCPOA would usher in a new era in the United States-Iranian relations, while at the same time asserting that the JCPOA would benefit United States national security even without such a broader rapprochement. After the JCPOA was finalized in July 2015, the United States and Iran held bilateral meetings at the margins of all nuclear talks and in other settings, covering regional as well as bilateral issues. President Obama met Foreign Minister Zarif at the September 2015 General Assembly session, but no United States-Iranian meetings occurred during the United States 2016 United Nations General Assembly session. However, continuing disputes prevented a broad warming of the United States-Iranian relations. Subsequent to the JCPOA finalization, Iran officials argued that new United States visa requirements in the FY 2016 Consolidated Appropriations Act, PL 114-113, would cause European businessmen to hesitate to travel to Iran and thereby limit Iran's economic reintegration. Then Secretary of State Kerry wrote to the Foreign Minister Zarif on December 19, 2015, that the United States would implement the provision so as to avoid interfering with legitimate business interests in Iran. In January 2016, Kerry worked with Foreign Minister Zarif to achieve the rapid release of 10 U.S. Navy personnel who the IRGC took into custody with their two riverine crafts strayed into what Iran considers its territorial waters. Coinciding with the implementation day of the JCPOA, January 16, 2016, the dual citizens held by Iran at the time were released, and long-standing Iranian claim for funds paid for undelivered military equipment from the Shah era was settled, resulting in $1.7 billion in cash payments, euros, Swiss francs, and other non-U.S. hard currencies. In Iran, $400 million for the original Department of Defense monies and $1.3 billion for an arbitrated amount of interest. Administration officials asserted that the nuclear diplomacy provided an opportunity to resolve these outstanding issues simultaneously. But some members of Congress criticized the simultaneity of the financial settlement as paying ransom to Iran. Obama administration officials asserted that it had long been assumed that the United States would need to return monies to Iran for the undelivered military equipment, and that the amount of interest agreed was likely less than what Iran might have been awarded by the United States-Iran Claims Tribunal. Iran conducted at least 4 ballistic missile tests from the time of the JCPOA was finalized in 2015 until the end of the Obama administration, which termed the tests defiant of or inconsistent with Resolution 2231. The tests prompted additional United States designations for sanctions of entities that support Iran's program. Obama administration officials asserted that Iran's regional behavior did not change significantly after the JCPOA. Iran continued to provide roughly pre-JCPOA levels of support to allies and proxies in the region, and it continued high-speed intercepts of U.S. warships in the Persian Gulf. After releasing all remaining jailed dual nationals in connection with Implementation Day, Iran subsequently jailed several other dual nationals. There was no evident post-JCPOA discussion of any enhancements of mutual diplomatic representation. The posting of United States nationals to staff the U.S. interests section in Tehran, or visit to Iran by then Secretary of State Kerry. In 2014, Iran appointed one of those involved in the 1979 seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, Hamid Abu-Talibi, as ambassador to the United Nations. But in April 2014, Congress passed S.2195 PL 113-100, which gave the administration authority to deny him a visa to take up his duties. The United States subsequently announced he would not be admitted. Iran replaced him with Gholam Ali Khoshuru, who studied in the United States and served in Khatami's government. In May 2015, the two governments granted each other permission to move their respective interests to more spacious locations. Trump administration policy almost entirely sticks. The Trump administration has shifted policy, asserting that JCPOA addressed only nuclear issues and hindered the U.S. ability to roll back Iran's malign regional activities and its military and missile capabilities. Administration officials assert that administration policy is to pressure Iran's economy to, point 1, compel it to renegotiate the JCPOA to address the JCPOA's deficiencies, and, point 2, deny Iran the revenue to continue to develop its strategic capabilities or intervene throughout the region. Administration statements of opposition to how Iran is governed suggest that an understated element of the policy is to create enough economic difficulties to stoke unrest in Iran, excuse me, possibly to the point where the regime collapses. The policy and elements of it have been articulated as followed. Bullet point 1. Citing Iran's arming of the Houthis in Yemen on February 1, 2017, then National Security Advisor Michael Flynn stated that Iran was officially on notice about its provocative behavior. Bullet point 2. In April 2017, the administration announced a 6-month Iran policy review based on the premise that the JCPOA only delays Iran's goal of becoming a nuclear state and had failed to curb Iran's objectionable regional behavior. Bullet point 3. During his May 20th to 24th, 2017 visit to the region, President Trump told Arab leaders in Saudi Arabia that until the Iranian regime is willing to be a partner for peace, all nations of conscience must work together to isolate Iran, deny it funding for terrorism, and pray for the day when the Iranian people have just and righteous government they deserve. The following month, then Secretary of State Tillerson testified that the administration would work to support elements in Iran that would lead to a peaceful transition of the Iranian government. Next bullet point, October 13th, 2017. President Trump, citing the results of the 6-month policy review stated that he would not certify Iranian JCPOA compliance under the INARA law, Iranian Nuclear Agreement Review Act PL 114-17, and that the United States would only stay in the accord if Congress and U.S. allies 1. Address the expiration of the JCPOA nuclear restrictions, 2. Curb Iran's ballistic missile program, and 3. Encounter Iran's regional activities. The denial of certification under INARA triggered a 60-day period for Congress to take legislative action under expedited procedures to reimpose those sanctions that were lifted. Congress did not take such action. Bullet point. On January 12, 2018, the President announced that he would not continue to waive Iran sanctions and that the next expiration deadline, May 12th, unless his demands to address JCPOA weaknesses were addressed by Congress and the European countries. In their visits to the United States in April 2018, the leaders of France and Germany implored the United States to remain in the JCPOA. Withdrawal from the JCPOA and beyond. On May 8, 2018, President Trump announced that the United States would withdraw from the JCPOA and reimpose all U.S. secondary sanctions that were waived or revoked to implement the accord. The reimposition went fully into effect as of November 5, 2018. Statements by President Trump and Secretary of State Pompeo explaining the policy unfolded as follows. On May 21, 2018, in his first speech as Secretary of State, Michael Pompeo announced a return to a U.S. strategy of pressuring Iran through sanctions and by working with allies against Iran's regional activities and proxies, as well as against its ballistic missile program, cyber attacks, and human rights abuses. He also expressed United States solidarity with the Iranian people. Next bullet point, on July 22, 2018, in a speech to Iranian Americans at the Reagan Library in California, Secretary Pompeo recited a litany of Iranian human rights abuses, official corruption, and efforts to destabilize the region. The Secretary stated that, "I have a message for the people of Iran. The United States hears you. The United States supports you. The United States is with you," end quote. Next bullet point. On July 23, 2018, following threats by Rouhani and other Iranian leaders to cut off the flow of oil through the Persian Gulf if Iran's oil exports are prevented by sanctions, President Trump issued a Twitter post from his personal account, quote, "To Iranian President Rouhani, never ever threaten the United States again, or you will suffer consequences the like of which few throughout history have ever suffered before. We are no longer a country that will stand for your demented words or violence and death. Be cautious," end quote. The tweet suggested to some the United States might be intent on military action against Iran, but no hostilities appeared imminent by either side. Next bullet point. On August 16, 2018, Secretary Pompeo announced the creation of an Iranian Actions Group at the State Department responsible for directing, reviewing, and coordinating all aspects of the department's Iranian-related activities. The group is headed by Brian Hook, who holds the title of Special Representative for Iran. In late September 2018, the group issued its Outlaw Regime, that's in quotes, report on Iran, in which Secretary of State Pompeo wrote in a preface that, quote, "The policy President Trump has laid out comes to terms fully with the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran is not a normal state. Our end goal is not an Iran that remains forever isolated. We seek a deal that ensures Iran does not support terrorism around the world and provides for greater opportunity to its own people." End quote. On October 3rd, 2018, the administration abrogated the 1955 U.S.-Iran Treaty of Amity, Economic Relations and Consular Rights. Iran's legal representatives had cited the treaty to earn a favorable October 2nd judgment from the International Court of Justice demanding the United States reverse some humanitarian-related sanctions on Iran. The treaty, which provides for freedom of commerce between the two countries and unfettered diplomatic exchange, has long been muted by the post-1979 developments in U.S.-Iran relations. National Security Advisor John Bolton stated at a news conference that the abrogation of the treaty would not affect the status of the United States or Iranian interests, sections in each other's countries. Okay, I'm going to end the video there. As you can see, it seems to be a type of sinusoidal relationship where they reach out, and there seems to be a improvement in relations, followed by a retrenchment and going back toward hostilities. Throughout the Obama and you can go back to Bush and Trump, there have been violent hostilities through proxies, intelligence, and special operations during the entire time. Even while there's been improvements in relations diplomatically, they still were constantly in conflict in places like Syria and Yemen. Au revoir, mon ami.